Being in a hurry, the man didn't notice at all. A maid was cleaning. The woman could not hide her smile. Her heart was pounding, even back in the corridor. She can't get her mind off of it. The man's handsome face and his strong body made her heart flutter, but turning around and seeing the cleaning tools, she stopped her impulsive thoughts. All the guests in this hotel are rich and famous, and she was just an ordinary hotel maid. Besides being underpaid, she was a single mother, and that's what stopped her from ever marrying again. She can't even hope to fall in love, much less climb the ladder of power. But what? And could never have imagined that soon after that handsome man would come to her just as she thought he would. There was more to a man than meets the eye. He's not only an aristocrat, he's a state senator and a candidate for the next Congress on the third day after the near miss in the restroom. It was the weekend because there was no time to take care of his son at home. Annie brought him to work and left him in the care of a coworker and took the elevator to the restroom alone. The boy happened to cross paths with State Representative Jack. The boy praised the man's work and expressed his admiration. Hearing these words coming from a child who was not as alert as the aide had shown Jack was only a little surprised, and what followed was full of interest. After a brief exchange of words, he invited the boy to walk his dog with him, having promised his mother not to leave the hotel. He had to say no, just as Jack was about to leave with the dog. Meanwhile, on the other side, Annie and her colleague were cleaning the suite on the 22nd floor. During this time, an expensive dress attracted her coworker. She held it up and showed it to Annie then, and she urged her to try it on. At first, Annie refused, but she couldn't resist her coworker's enthusiasm. But as she closed the curtain to change, the boy arrived at the door. He introduced the woman to a man she clearly liked. Annie instantly remembered this man was the guest in the restroom that day, and because she had left with her head down, Jack didn't recognize Annie as the maid that day. Plus, the designer clothes she was wearing and the way her colleague addressed her as ma'am, a misunderstanding arose. Annie froze in her tracks. Her coworker and her son seemed to be in agreement. She was pulled to the door when she came back to her senses as they reached the elevator. The manager appeared to greet Jack. Annie crouched down so she wouldn't be recognized and pretended to fix her son's clothes, then walked into the elevator with her back to the manager. Turning her head to try not to meet his eyes, the journey was a frightening one, and finally arrived at the hotel entrance. But she would never have guessed the door was crowded with reporters interviewing Jack. He covered the mother and son and left first. Jack made a deal with the reporters as long as they didn't follow him. He'll let them into the ballroom on Monday after settling things here. He took the leash from his assistant. He ran to catch up with Annie and the boy. Annie was going to ask the boy how he knew Jack. When Jack appeared, she stopped asking. Looking at the boy who had been taken away by the dog, Jack was curious. He asked Annie about him. Why does your son know so much about politics? Why he knows so much about political matters? Because of the boy's timid nature. He had few friends at school over time. He developed an inferiority complex. Even when he speaks on stage, he can't even look up at the audience.